Hi BookTube! Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the Chaos Walking trilogy by Ness. And I don't have any of the books with me except for the third one, Monsters of Men, because I already returned the other two to the library. But I am planning on buying the first book, and I will tell you why only the first one, but I just don't have it yet, and I wanted to do the review now while it's still fresh in my mind and everything. This Chaos Walking trilogy is a young adult science fiction coming-of-age story, and the first book is called The Knife of Never Letting Go, and I basically started the series because that title really intrigued me. I thought it was really unique. There's a lot of novels out now that are like the one word, and that was like more of an abstract title, and I was just so intrigued by that I read like the first sentence on the book description on the back, and I was like, alright, I'm in. This book is about this young boy, Todd, and he's very uneducated. He lives in this isolated town on a planet called New World, which was settled by humans the generation before Todd, and he doesn't really like his life. He doesn't go to school. His life is pretty menial, and one of his only friends is his dog, Manchi, who's like the best character in the book. The basic main concept of this book, and I found that this concept really made the series stand out from most other YA novels, was the concept of the noise, which is that the thoughts and feelings that come out from all the men, and all the men can hear each other, and they can project images and their feelings and stuff like that. I thought that was super interesting and unique. So then Todd meets Viola, and obviously the first girl he's ever met, and he starts unraveling the mystery of what happened to his town and all the women that used to live there. Basically, this first book, I really loved everything about it. It was one of those books that once you get the plot rolling, you pretty much can't put it down. It kind of reminded me of the Hunger Games that way. Not the concept, but just the way that it kind of grabs you, and you keep reading like voraciously to make sure the characters end up okay. And it was kind of the same sort of themes, but yeah, there's some other parallels with this and the Hunger Games I'm going to talk about, but this series was published first. I'm not saying they ripped each other off. I saw some other reviews of this series, and a bunch of people were saying that the grammar issues and run-on sentences really bothered them. I listened to the audiobook, so that I did not even notice those issues, but in the second and especially the third book, those really become more and more prevalent. I found, I still haven't read the physical books, so I haven't actually seen how the writing looks like. Okay, so the second and third books I'm going to kind of review together because I found that they really were connected to each other, and they kind of ran into each other and in a different way than the first book. The first book really stands alone and apart from the other two. So the second book is The Ask and the Answer, and in this book we're introduced to this new character called Mistress Coyle, and every time she talked I basically wanted to just reach into the book and strangle her. I really hated her, and I thought the author was really good at writing likable characters and unlikable characters that weren't like really in your face, like kind of make up your own mind about them. But yeah, Mistress Coyle is kind of a similar character to Coin in Mockingjay. Again, this book was written first, just to make a comparison if you've already read The Hunger Games. She constantly called Viola my girl, and it made me want to punch her every time. And even Viola's like, you can't call me that, like stop calling me that. And she never does anything else about it. Like, it was so irritating. Oh my god, I just shuddered every time I heard it. And also in these two books we get a point of view change. So, in the first book we just see everything happening from Todd's point of view, and in the second book we switch between Todd and Viola. In the third book we are introduced to another new character called The Return, and he's a spackle, which is one of the alien species that lives on this planet, New World. Well, actually, I guess they're the natives of the planet, and the humans are the aliens. Okay, the second and third book, I have to say I didn't enjoy that much. It wasn't a page-turner, even though I was listening to the audiobooks. In the same way that the first book was, there was a lot of Chaos Walking Trilogy, and it didn't have the same flow. I felt like there was too much just random stuff happening, and just people kept fighting with each other, and it didn't seem to have the same beginning, middle, and end, and there wasn't the same amount of character change or development that there was in the first book. Also, there's a new character in the second and third book called Lee. He might only be in the third book, I can't remember. And I felt like we really didn't get to know him enough at all. So the things that happened to him, it was just hard to empathize with him because you don't really get to know him. The Spackle character, The Return, his chapters were very strange in the way that the Spackle have a very different language than the humans. The different names that they call each other. So that was quite confusing at first, and it took a few chapters to get used to, actually. But the thing that I thought was interesting about his story was how that character seemed to parallel Todd, the main character. Another thing that annoyed me in those books was the horse characters, because you can hear the animals' noises in these books, like the dogs and the horses and all the other creatures. The horses called Todd and Viola Boy Colt and Girl Colt. So if you're a horse person like me, I worked with horses for over 7 years, colt, the term colt, okay, I'm nitpicking now, but the term colt means a male baby horse. And the term filly is a female baby horse. If you want a gender neutral term, it is foal. So it should have been girl foal or boy foal, not girl colt, because girl colt means girl, boy, baby. Doesn't make any sense. So that bothered me too. So the ending of the series, from what I can see of everyone else's reviews, everyone else was just as frustrated as me because of the unanswered questions and just the ending. It just didn't seem like it was the end, and but yeah, I do have to say the one thing that I really, really loved about this entire series, and I talked about this in my previous video, is that it wasn't afraid to take itself seriously. Nothing irritates me more than a book or movie where the main character is saying, oh, this is like I'm in a fantasy novel, or it's like, you are in a fantasy novel, and like it just breaks that third wall, and like this, no one in this book was like, this is so weird, you know, they were just, it made it, that's realistic. That is what you should write. Don't write characters that are bewildered by their own story. That doesn't make any damn sense. And also that the main characters, despite being very young, made very serious decisions and took very dire actions. No spoilers again, but I really like that because when they happen, it's real and you're like, whoa. And it doesn't get taken back. It's not like, just kidding, they're not actually dead. They're dead. And that kid just killed them. That also made this series stand out a lot from other YA novels. One last complaint I have is that there's apparently a short story or a novella, I don't know, it's called The New World, and it's only available on Kindle. And I don't have a freaking Kindle. So I'm really mad about that. Now I'm going to talk about the actual audiobooks and the quality of those. And I definitely recommend the audiobooks. They're really, really good, they're really well produced, and they're really well acted. Also, the music is really good in them. There's not a lot of music, but often with audiobooks, each CD or chapter will have a lead-in little track and a lead-out little track. And I really, really like the music on all three books. I wasn't like ejecting the disc as fast as I could when I started hearing it, which often happens. I'm like, oh god, this music is terrible. And the acting I thought was superb. Like, above and beyond most narrators of audiobooks. The main character, Todd, the actor is amazing. He's so believable as Todd, and he can sing. And then when we get to see the point of view of Viola and The Return, they have their own voice actors too, and they're really good. But it's a bit jarring at first when you're used to only Todd narrating Viola's voice and stuff. And in the third book, there's way too many POV changes. Like, some of them are every few sentences. That was extremely jarring, and I didn't like that. but the acting's really good. Viola's actress was really into it as well. There was a part where I thought she was actually crying when she was reading, and then the Return's voice actor, his voice was a little bit too similar to Todd's, but he was good. He was very, very intense. Like, he almost yelled, and I was like, okay, you're getting almost too loud. And another thing I really liked about the series was the love story in it. It's not entirely about the love story. It's definitely a big part of it, especially in the final book, but there's never, like, awkward, fumbling makeout scenes, and it's just about these two characters who really rely on each other. And it's not about, like, how hot they are. It's intense, but it's not, like, overly creepy sexual in your face, like, plus I think they're supposed to be, like, 13 or, yeah, they're like 14, I think. I don't think Viola's age is even mentioned in it. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about some spoilery things. I'm just gonna do it because it's driving me crazy. If you don't want spoilers, just close the window, press back, whatever you want to do. So, okay, the questions I had at the end of the series, they never really answered what happened to all the women in Todd's town, Prentice Town. They never actually explained it. Like, I might have missed it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. They never actually explained that, and Todd asked the mayor a couple times, and he says, they killed themselves so they wouldn't lose the war between the men and women. It doesn't make any sense, and then that's never confirmed by any of the other characters. No one else ever talks about it, and no. And then another question that I had that was never answered was, why don't any of the human women have the noise? Because all the spackle females had noise and all the female animals had noise. So they never answered that question, why women can't project noise. One of my big complaints about the ending is that the settlers that Viola was originally traveling with, they never land on the planet. And I was really looking forward to that happening, and I think that would have been a way better book, like second book, than the one that we did get, where not that much actually happens. And I was looking forward to reading about all their experiences and feelings about starting a new life on a new planet and coming out of, like, cryogenic stasis and meeting the rest of Viola's friends. I definitely recommend the first book of the series, The Knife of Never Letting Go. Unfortunately, the ending of that book is a cliffhanger, so you're pretty much forced into getting the next book. Personally, would have wanted those books to go another direction, and I'm definitely going to buy the first book because I think I'll read it again, and I think my little brother would like it, but I really don't see myself rereading the other two because it was quite a chore to get through them. But the first book is really good. I give the first book 5 out of 5, so check that one out. See you guys next time.